didn't know you were like, bam.
I said, are you ready?
I mean, yeah, but usually you like fiddle.
I fiddled. I had already fiddled.
I didn't know
I had
that.
done my fiddling.
I didn't know that. You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Wyoming. So, Lauren,
Yes, Kenzie.
let's get scary.
I'm going to apologize now. Mackenzie is now not the nasally sounding one. It is me. Thanks.
You're welcome.
The pollen is out to kill me. It is out to kill us all.
Mother Nature sneezed, and because we didn't say bless you, she didn't use a tissue.
Ew!
Tell me that's not what it looks like.
No,
out
it
there.
does. Like my car has like a yellow glisten to it.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
I go outside and immediately I feel like a film just like in my throat, in my nasal passages.
So I had to miss work the other day because of fun allergies. So I told Joe, I was like, hey, you're not allowed in our bed in outside clothes because he works outside.
Yeah.
So he changed. He was laying in bed the other day and I was like, are these outside clothes? He goes, no, I took those off. And I said, did you take Roy out in these clothes? He goes, yeah. I said, then they're outdoor clothes. And he was like, but I don't want to have to change 3 times a day. And I said, Joseph, get a sweatshirt and sweatpants. Put those on. Take the dog out and take them off. I said, I don't want pollen in our clean, pollen-free bed.
Or go in like your work clothes before you change.
Well, he takes them out at night after he gets home.
Oh, well, okay. In that sense, I get it.
Like, because you need your comfy clothes.
Right.
Or if he shower, he's a boy. But I was like, please don't lay in our clean bed in your pollen-covered clothes because then I will die for 3 months.
And that means we're all going to die.
Yeah. I accepted my death yesterday, though, because we were outside for a couple hours. And then I drove home with my windows down and my sunroof open.
So you have a death wish.
I was like, I'm already outside. I've already been outside. So we're just going to full send it.
So you might as well just let Joe wear the outside.
Not in our clean bed. Because guess what? When I got home, I changed into my non-pollen clothes.
Well, I have also started showering at night instead of showering in the morning.
I've always been a night shower, but right now it has to be done.
Well, and I started doing it because I'm like, let's stop kidding ourselves. You're not going to get up early enough to shower and do your hair in the morning.
That's why I can't do it.
It's just not going to happen no matter how much you tell yourself the night before, okay, you can do it. You
because
can't.
When you're laying in bed, you're like, I could either get up now or I could sleep for 30 more minutes.
The amount of extra sleep that one can get by not having to shower in the morning is amazing. And by doing it at night, I also realized I can take my fucking time.
Yes, exactly.
There is no rush. Because I'm just going to get into my jams.
Yep.
And get into bed.
And you can wash your face and it gets you ready for bed instead of washing your face in the shower and then putting your makeup on.
Which I'm terrible with because the water gets all over. I don't know how people manage to not get water all over their sink.
Oh, when you wash your face?
Yes.
Yes.
So.
Yes. It's like a Neutrogena commercial where the water splashes everywhere.
Yeah, except I'm trying not to do that. And it's still as if I do that.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. But it's definitely felt nice showering from kind of like washing the day away.
Yes.
You know?
And then especially if you have just changed your sheets and you get into nice clean sheets. Oh, there's no better feeling.
Well, then too, I think about if I change my sheets and all I ever do is wear PJs in my bed, it's basically like permanently clean sheets.
Exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's how that works.
It's not how it works at all, but that's how we're going to think it works. So I went to the Hands Off March yesterday.
Oh, yes.
On April 5th. It was really good. I went with my mom and my grandma. Our signs were a hit. So mine.
Yes. Did mom do it?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I was like,
designed all of them.
I was like, no shot. Did Lauren do any of these?
Oh, no, my mom's great at that. Yeah. So we had FDT.
Well, I also recognize her handwriting.
That's true. So we had one that said FDT. I think people can figure out what. So one guy looked at me and goes, FDT. And right when I said it, he goes, oh, yep, that's good. We had a hand that said hands off my, and then each finger had a different thing.
I liked that one.
That one was a good one. Grandma had a penguin, and it said, huh? And then really.
I don't remember seeing that one in your post.
It was the one she was holding. I'll show you real quick.
Oh, right.
So that one got a lot of views. The other side of that one said everything he touches turns to, and then mom drew a pile of poo. And then on the back of hers, it said, just stop already.
Please.
But so we were there. Oh, and on the back of mine, it was the FDT and then MAGA that we had like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
moronic.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it was really good. There were so many people who showed up in Leesburg.
Yeah.
The mayor spoke, another delegate spoke. There was music being played. It was
Do you
great.
know how Leesburg voted, like, locally?
I think they're blue.
Okay.
I think they're blue.
It's interesting.
Yes.
I would like to see a breakdown of just Loudoun County.
Yeah. Well, Loudoun County as a whole is blue.
Is it really?
Yeah. Northern Virginia is the only reason we won.
No, I know that, but I didn't think Loudoun contributed.
I think Loudoun
I
is.
thought it was just like Fairfax, Arlington, and
I'll have to
Alexandria.
check, but I'm like 99% sure. I could be wrong. But what I was shocked about was the amount of older people there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought also, too, a lot of the younger people probably went to DC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw when I was walking Millie on Saturday morning, I saw someone waiting for the bus, clearly going somewhere. I don't know if it was downtown. I'm assuming it was downtown since I don't live far from DC.
Probably.
But yeah.
But
I'm
yeah.
glad you went.
Yeah, I am too. So it was really good. There was, of course, a stupid Trump supporter who was walking.
I mean,
And people are standing on the sidewalk. He goes, you can't block me. That's illegal to block me. And so I stood someplace and I said, I was standing here before you started walking.
illegal to block me?
Yeah. And there was a cop following them around because I think they knew that people, we're the good side. We didn't destroy any capitals or any capitol buildings or stuff like that. So we weren't going to do that. But a jackass was driving by with a huge truck that had all this Trump shit on it. And so we were driving behind them with our FDT signs.
Yeah.
And so one lady had a sign that said Trump's not my president, he's a fucker, something like that. And so she put it on the back of the car and walked away. Well, a cop went and grabbed it because he took it off. And I looked at the cop, I said, and now you have a sign.
Look at you being all inclusive.
So he laughed, smiled, but put it down.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, it was really good. I think it was great. Anyone else who went out, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was all
anywhere
over the
you did it.
country.
Yes, it was, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Other countries, we were showing up on other countries' news.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure we are constantly in other countries' news.
But things like this are when other countries are okay, we support these Americans.
Oh, for sure, which is fine. I mean, unfortunately, we are going to have to suffer the consequences of someone else's actions.
Uh-huh. It's going to take way more than 4 years to fix any of this.
I do stand by, if I need to suffer in order for them to get the fucking picture, I will do that. I don't really have much of a choice, but I've come to accept it.
But yeah, but grandma, she was this guy's trying to walk towards her and she's not walking. He's you can't block me. She's I'm not blocking you. And she's standing there. She's getting into this thing with this guy. My mom was Mom, come on, let's go. So we kept to walk her away. It was so funny.
It's crazy to think about that our moms saw this literally come full circle.
My grandma walked in the early 70s to support Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Then she walked in the 60s for pro-choice.
Yeah.
She walked with my mom in 2017 for the Women's March.
Yeah.
And now my grandma has to walk again for women's rights.
Right.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, people don't really consider the historical timeline. I think it's important to really look at, putting in perspective historical events. The Civil Rights Act got signed in 1964. My mother was 4 years old.
My mom was born that year.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're, especially if you're our age and you look at your parents and they're older, but you wouldn't consider them grandparent age or
right.
things like that. Yet you look at the historical things that happened to them when they were alive, then you have to realize that means that history is not that long ago.
Right.
We were just now able to open credit cards and buy a house. It's 1974.
Yeah.
My mother was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
If it's within your parents' or your grandparents' timeline that...
If it's in a timeline, yeah, when people who were alive.
Right, that are still alive.
Right.
That's recent history, my friend.
So yeah, so it was great. I was really happy we went. I was really happy to see the turnout that was there.
Yeah.
So...
that's... it's gives you even the tiniest bit of hope. It's definitely not a double-edged sword, because I wouldn't say that both sides are bad. I would say one side is you see like, okay, cool. I'm not alone in my thinking. There
Mhm.
are a good amount of people that agree with me. This is good. Hopefully this means that we can continue to fight for change and actually get somewhere. Then there's the other side of I see all these people around me who agree with me, and yet we're still in this position.
Yes.
And why does this keep happening? And then it almost is like, is it working? Is
Well,
it
because
worth it?
my grandma's big about it because she's like, "I protested for Roe v. Wade and it was signed 2 years later."
Yeah.
You know?
Progress is always going to be slow.
So we've gotta do what we can.
And it can I will be the first to admit that there are times I feel discouraged.
Yep.
There are times I feel discouraged and
Yesterday helped boost it a little bit.
good.
Seeing all of the people and seeing it all over the nation. So
Yeah, I saw a girl we went to high school with.
Mhm.
I saw her thing about it. I don't know
Mhm.
where she was. I think she was up in Pennsylvania, Maryland.
She was in Frederick. So
So
Maryland.
Maryland.
Mhm.
Okay. And then this one girl that I like briefly met in a trip to Colorado, she's down in Miami
Mm.
and she was doing it.
Yeah. So I
So
saw like the DC, the New Yorks, the
yeah.
Chicagos, the LAs, like all the big ones. So
I did I'm not gonna lie, I did have the cynical thought. I'm like, is this really gonna get them to start listening to us? Because that's the idea. You vocalize what you want, and those representatives are supposed to bring that, be like, okay, here's what my people have said.
hopefully, I mean, hopefully. That's all we have. We have our voice and our vote. So
I'm trying, man.
so that's all we got. But yeah, so it was good. It was good. I was outside, so that's when I was like, I'm just gonna full send it and sing with my windows down.
Yeah, we had vastly different weekends. You are out there fighting for change, saving the world, fighting for the people. I was on my couch and I was snacking
And dog sitting.
and dog sitting. That sounded like Roy was walking around downstairs, but Roy's right here.
Yeah, I don't like it. I know that it's Joe, but I
Right.
still don't like it.
But yeah, but I, supported from my couch.
Thank you.
I watch women's soccer.
Okay.
That's women supporting women right there.
That is women supporting women.
We won.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there you go.
So on to Wyoming.
Please. And if you don't sing the song when you get to the second sentence in the first paragraph, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. And that's all I'm giving you. I'm already disappointed with the look on your face.
I'm so nervous. Okay.
You'll get it. Just read.
Welcome to another journey.
No, you got to read the thing in the brackets.
You want me to read it? Okay.
Yeah, because it's funny.
I was following my cues, my stage cues. Okay. Podcast narration style, Wyoming Dark History episode. Welcome to another journey into America's lesser known, darker past. Is this the part where I'm supposed to sing?
No. Just
Okay. Today we're heading to the wide open spaces.
there you go. There you go.
And windswept plains of Wyoming.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. A state known for its rugged beauty, but also home to stories that are anything but serene, from forgotten towns and haunted prisons to controversial wildlife causes and eerie ghost sightings. This is the shadowed side of the cowboy state. I saw them live. Thank you.
What?
The Chicks,
Oh.
who are now called the Chicks.
I'm like, who?
I have seen them live.
That's cool.
Thank you.
When did it click for you that that's when you were supposed to sing?
When I read Wide Open Spaces.
I figured. From forgetful towns. I should live in a forgetful town.
We should both live in forgetful towns, but more so you. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. You are my memory support animal.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
You have my memories because I certainly don't. I have some.
You have a few.
Really. Oh my gosh. I have to tell you the funniest story. You're going to love this.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with Wyoming, but
I didn't think it would have anything to do with it.
it has to do with like memory.
Okay.
Okay. So this past week with the kids, we're learning about or reviewing what theme is.
Okay.
Okay. They have some misunderstandings. So, oh, wait, no, that's not the story. Okay. Take that part out when you're editing because that's not what the story is. The story is we're talking about one of the books we're reading.
Okay.
And one of the characters in the books is like, he's young and he wants to impress this older kid.
Mhm.
Okay. And so I was talking with the kids and I was like, do we think he's going to make the best choices? And blah, 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 blah. And they were kind of like, yeah, maybe, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, have you ever known someone or you yourself, you wanted to impress someone so badly, you wanted to look cool that you did something that you probably shouldn't? Like, for example, you thought it'd be really cool to show all your friends that you could get out onto the roof of your house. And so you decided, well, let me show them and we can all go out on the roof together. And so you climb in through your mom's bathroom, you take the screen out and you climb out onto the roof. Miss, no. Did that actually happen? Yes. Yes, it did.
No, it didn't, because I can't tell you ways to climb onto your parents' roof.
No, I said yes, it did. Listen. Okay. I'm not influencing.
Listen, Linda, listen.
Listen. Okay. So, of course, immediately engagement through the roof.
Like, oh my God, we have a cool teacher.
Right. I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a picture of it somewhere. And they're like, oh my God, did your mom find out? I was like, eventually. What they don't know is that mom knew from the jump because mom knew everything that I did. Because it was through her fucking bathroom.
Yeah. Hey, we're just going to go in here real quick.
But like for the point that I was trying to get the kids to, I also needed to seem a little bit cooler. Like, nah, mom didn't know. I did it all. You know, or else
We snuck out. Mom
there's
didn't
no
know.
moral to the story if mom knows.
If mom knew, yeah.
And they were like, oh my God. And I said, was it a smart thing that I did? No, definitely not. I said, no, it wasn't smart. What could have happened? And everyone went with the whole, you could have fallen off the roof and died. And I was like, or I could have just really hurt myself. Was it just me up there? No, it was my friends. They could have really hurt themselves. We had to climb out on there. It was a slanted roof. We had to climb back in. At any point, we could have fallen and really hurt ourselves. So
We really could have, yeah.
I was just so caught up in wanting to impress my friends. I didn't think about those things. Do you think that might happen with our character too? Oh, yeah. Still have hands raised. And I look at them and I go, is this about the book or is this about me climbing out onto the roof? And hold their hands.
I would love to know what questions they wanted to ask you.
I said if we had time that we would ask them, but we ran out of time.
Bummer.
Yeah.
It's because I'd love to know.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. Good times. I do remember those days. Just like when we wanted to sneak out. And so we would sneak our way out with your mom fully knowing that we were sneaking out.
Right.
And then she would just leave the front door unlocked for us. We could walk back in.
Yep. Just had to text her where we were going. We even like fake snuck Sneaked out?
I think both work.
Yeah, well, we did that and then had to still come in through the front door because we couldn't come back in the way we came.
We didn't have the upper body strength to do it.
I just think about like all the movies that we ever watched as kids growing up. They always had to like have some like acrobatic thing where they climbed out of a window and onto a terrace and then like
slid down the drain.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, obviously I want that too because when people say sneak out, that's what everybody's doing.
Obviously.
That's not what everybody's doing.
No, they're leaving their basement door unlocked.
Yes. So anyway, yeah, that was the story. That's what I wanted to tell you. I used our bad choices to help kids make literary connections, also emphasize the importance of background knowledge when reading, and taught them a lesson of making smart choices.
I love it.
And also got some really cool ass teacher brownie points.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So anyway, tell me about the cowboy state.
Okay. So we have the Heart Mountain Internment Camp, which you covered that, right?
Just read.
Okay. During World War II, thousands of Japanese Americans were forcibly relocated to isolated camps, one of the most infamous being the Heart Mountain Relocation Center in Wyoming. Tucked between Cody and Powell, this camp housed over 14,000 people in bleak conditions. Despite being stripped of their rights, many internees built schools, ran newspapers, and tried to live some version of a normal life. But Heart Mountain was also the site of bold resistance. A group of young men formed the Fair Play Committee, refusing the draft in protest of their unjust imprisonment, a move that led to federal convictions. Today, Heart Mountain stands as both a memorial and warning about what happens when fear overrides justice. You can hear more about Heart Mountain in episode 57, our first Wyoming episode. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people know that Wyoming was once home to a thriving all-Black town. Empire was founded in the early 1900s by African-American families, many of them formerly enslaved, who dreamed of self-sufficiency and freedom on the open frontier. But empire wasn't immune to the challenges of the West. The soil was poor, the rain rarely came, and racial tensions with nearby white communities ran high. Over time, the dream of empire faded. Most families moved on, leaving behind little more than memories and whispers of a once vibrant community that dared to defy the odds. Any of the deep breathing is Roy, my dog. In Rawlins, the Wyoming frontier prison looms like a stone sentinel in the past. Operational from 1901 to 1981, it housed some of the most dangerous criminals in the state and earned a reputation for brutality. Inmates faced overcrowding, isolation, and primitive medical care. Executions were carried out on site, first by hanging, later by gas chambers. But when the prison closed, the stories didn't stop. Visitors now report strange sounds, cold spots, and ghostly figures roaming the old cell blocks. Some say the spirits of the condemned never left. You can hear more about the prison in our second Wyoming episode, episode 111. Wyoming's Wild West days were exactly that. Wild. The state was a haven for outlaws where justice often came at the end of a gun. Take Big Nose George Parrott, a train robber whose criminal career ended when a lynch mob took justice into their own hands. In a gruesome twist, a medical doctor made shoes from George's skin, which he still. What?
Local.
What did I say?
Medical.
Oh, well, same. Local medical. A doctor who was local and a medical doctor, made shoes from George's skin, which you can still
Was he a scientist?
which you can still see on display today. Then there's a Tom Horn, a cowboy scout and hired gunman executed for murder. Oh, then there's Tom Horn. Sorry, I said a Tom Horn, and I was like, is that a thing that I need to know what it is? No, it's a man. Tom Horn. He was a cowboy scout and hired gunman executed for murder, though whether he actually committed the crimes is still debated. These men helped shape Wyoming's bloody and legendary outlaw lore. Scattered across Wyoming are the decaying remains of ghost towns, once bustling places now swallowed by time. Kerwin, nestled deep in the Absarokas, was a mining town abandoned after deadly avalanches. Benton lived fast and died young. Live fast, die young. Springing up as a railroad terminus.
From?
That's a song. Live fast, die young, bad girls do it well.
Okay.
So this town, springing up as a railroad terminus and vanished almost overnight. These ghost towns are more than ruins. They're snapshots of ambition, desperation, and the transient nature of frontier life. Some visitors even claim the towns aren't as empty as they look, hearing phantom voices or catching glimpses of figures that vanish when approached. If you're into the paranormal, like we are, Wyoming has plenty to offer. At Fort Laramie, people have reported seeing a lady in green wandering the grounds, possibly searching for a lost soldier. Others have seen a spectral cavalry officer patrolling like it's still the 1800s. The Occidental Hotel in Buffalo is another paranormal hotspot where guests say children's laughter echoes through empty halls and doors open on their own.
Absolutely not.
These places are more than historic landmarks. They're said to be inhabited by the echoes of the past.
This
And-
one's sad.
Oh, great. And now a darker story from the present day. In 2024, a case out of Daniel, Wyoming shocked animal lovers across the country. A man captured a live wolf, Kenzie, taped its mouth shut and paraded it around town before killing it. The gruesome act sparked national outrage and raised serious questions about Wyoming's predator laws, which allow wolves to be killed without restriction in most of the state.
Well, there is some restriction, but some people don't listen.
Obviously. The backlash was swift, so much so that the Wyoming Office of Tourism paused its wildlife-related promotions. The incident highlighted a deep divide between traditional hunting practices and modern views on animal rights.
I think he just got slapped with a fine.
Ugh, I was just going to ask what happened to him.
And people were like, what the fuck?
We should do the same to him that he did to the wolf.
I'd be okay with it.
In some cases, an eye for an eye truly does seem like the best way to do it.
Yeah. I'm down for that.
And I don't know if wolves would apply or if this rule is still a thing, but wasn't it a thing at one point that they said that hurting animals was going to become a felony?
I don't ever recall that.
I do. I remember it was animal abuse was soon going to be a felony.
Animal abuse?
Well, that's animal abuse, I'd say.
Well, yeah. But you mean specifically you own an animal and you're abusing them, not necessarily you go out hunting for them.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I believe. I don't know. I don't read the law. Clearly, I don't know if it happened or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that would have to be a state-by-state thing.
Ugh, yeah,
I
probably.
don't know if they could make that a federal law. We should honestly just make an amendment in the Constitution.
I agree that.
Thou shalt not hurt animal.
Oh, when I was at the protest yesterday, I meant to send you a picture of it. Someone did the flag of the U.S. and it was or of Virginia,
Mhm.
and it was like the "Thus always to tyrants" or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, look at that!"
Look at that.
And I took a picture of it.
I actually have come to learn that there are quite a few states that do have women on their flags.
Good.
None have a titty out so far, stabbing a man with a spear, but some do have women on theirs.
Representative.
Yeah. So,
But yes, that's Wyoming.
where the winds come sweeping down the plain.
Close. We're in the same region. Wyoming. Oh my gosh. Speaking of that sound, so my mom and I were doing trivia the other day when we were driving to Baltimore. And so the answer for one of the things was Panama. And so I was giving her a hint and I go, okay, so it's from a song. Na, 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 na. And she goes, Guatemala. It was so funny. And I was like, no, not quite. And that's not right.
Oh man, she's a hoot.
So then I read Guatemala for something recently, and then that just popped in my head. Guatemala.
Oh my god.
So that's Wyoming.
What's spooky to you, porn, Lauren?
All right, so I have an urban legend for you.
Ooh.
So this legend comes from Shoshone folklore. So the Shoshone were a group of Native Americans who occupied the territory from what is now southeastern California, across central and eastern Nevada, northwestern Utah into southern Idaho, and western Wyoming.
Wow.
So the Shoshone in the Wyoming area were the Wind River Shoshone. And some facts I found. So the Wind River tribe usually hunted for buffalo on horseback. Sacagawea, the woman who helped Lewis and Clark, is thought to have been a member of either the Wind River or the Northern Shoshone group.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool.
Kind of sounds like a like something you'd hear from like Avatar or something, like the Wind Tribe. the
Yeah,
Earth
right.
Tribe.
This Shoshone legend identifies the Nimerigar as an ancient race of, and there's no other PC way to say this is what they are, of little people, but like little people, like, I'll get to it, who dwelt in the Wind River and Pedro Mountains regions of Wyoming.
I
They
think
bear,
little people is politically correct.
okay, but like more like the pygmy.
Pig.
Pygmies and like the, let me get to it.
Okay.
It'll make more sense.
Okay.
So they bear some similarities to the European folklore of sprites or fairies.
So they're like
Yeah,
doll size.
like American Girl doll size.
Okay.
Yeah. Slash Barbie size. So yeah.
That's a range because Barbies are way small.
I know. It is a range.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Though this Native American legend predates any first contact with European settlers who then brought in the sprites and fairies.
So it's probably more Native American, not Native American, American Girl doll size than Barbie size.
Kind of. So the name Nimerigar translates to people eaters.
He was a one-eyed, one-horse, flying purple people eater.
So apparently, the Nimerigar waged war and raided the Shoshone and Paiute tribes. Parents were afraid that the Nimerigar would come and kidnap their children. The tribal elders also worried that they would cause the tribe to self-destruct. So because the Nimerigar are known for their brutality, they were fierce, cruel, and dangerous creatures. They were known to steal babies during the night and eat the helpless infants. So parents had every right to be terrified that they would come kidnap their children.
Baby eaters.
But even living among their own tribes wasn't safe. Elderly members and those who were seriously ill could be killed in fatal attacks, having their skulls bashed in. The Nimerigar did this because they wanted to have a strong tribe. They needed to be strong, so in order to keep it strong, they got rid of their weaklings in very brutal ways.
I'm having two images in my head currently.
Okay. Explain them, please.
Image number one is, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before. The movie Small Soldiers.
Okay.
These action figures come to life, very brutal, not good. Anyway, they get the Barbies in on it too. And so it's just these like tiny action figures that are raging war on these poor families from these two houses.
Kind of.
And it's like crazy. They got like machine things. Like it's nuts that these toys are literally like attacking this family.
Okay, yeah, kind of.
That's picture number one.
Okay.
Picture number two is from Recess School's Out, the kindergartners.
Oh my God, I forgot about them.
Those are the two images that are going back and forth in my head.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Right.
So it was also never a wise idea to actually confront the Nimerigar. They
Mm-mm.
were expert archers. All were able to shoot arrows with amazing accuracy from tiny bows, and each one of their arrows was tipped with poison.
Like a little toothpick.
I know. So it is said that
A deadly toothpick.
if a human stumbled upon them, the sound of the Nimerigar's arrows flying through the air would be the last thing the traveler would hear in the deep mountain woods.
Eee.
So, shoo, and then you die. They also seem to like to play pranks and tricks and will set up innocent people with not so innocent antics. But I can't tell you what that means. There was no example of what these tricks were, just that they like to play cruel tricks on each other and people.
I bet they trip them a lot.
Probably
Yeah.
like shoestring across.
Yeah.
But there are other versions of the tale of the Nimerigars who are known to have been spirits and healers, and some believed to be magical like leprechauns or fairies, but for the most part, they were just evil people eaters. So
One bad apple can ruin the whole bunch.
I know. So as for their looks, they are known as the enemies of mankind, so they kind of have a scary look. They're usually just under a meter tall, so usually between 20 inches to 3 feet. So there we go, our Barbie to American Girl doll. Except Barbies were...
More like a life-size Barbie.
Yeah.
They're about as tall as a meter stick.
Then that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
They had greenish hued skin, large black
They had what?
eyes, greenish hued skin.
Oh, hued. I thought you said shooed.
Nope. Large black eyes and wide mouths full of razor sharp teeth.
So more like the kindergartners from recess schools out.
Yeah. Or Moana, the coconut
Oh,
people.
yeah. Oh, my God, yes.
Some stories claim that the Nimerigar keep their hearts separate from their bodies in a sort of den or hollow-like nest in their camps. This doesn't render them immortal, but if you do happen to find their nest while they're away, of course, you can exterminate the whole tribe then and there. Because if the heart stops, the body dies regardless of distance.
It's like, what's his name, keeping his heart in his chest.
That's where people usually keep their heart, yep.
Treasure chest thing, like a wooden chest. The pirate guy.
Davy Jones?
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, kind of like that. So if you kill the heart, like he's dead.
Which, like, that just kind of seems counterintuitive. Like, obviously, like, are you trying to protect your heart so, like, when you're in battle, you can't die?
Oh, maybe.
But then, like, it's kind of like, never mind.
Also kind of like Voldemort, where he hid his Horcruxes all over the place.
I was about to say, like, capture the flag.
How?
Well, because I'm sure it's kind of guarded, but if you really, like, if people get out, like, you then have to go capture the flag, which means you're left unguarded.
That's true. That is true. It is also said that fire can kill them. But a particular herb or a specific sound can repel or weaken them. But what that herb and sound is remains a mystery.
Oh, I wanted to know what the sound was.
As few, probably none, have been able to study them and return to tell the tale.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yes. Ask me the questions. And I will answer what I can.
Someone had to have survived in order for the tale to have begun.
Well, like they see these things in the distance, but no one's ever like been close enough to study them because they'll kill you with their mini tiny arrows.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So where did these things come from?
We don't know. We can't study them.
Some say that the Nimerigar were born from the earth itself, a manifestation of the mountain spirit, here to guard its ancient secrets.
We need more of these like nature spirits to come out and kind of like scare us a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that too. Others say that they have more of a celestial lineage, children of the stars, clothed in earthly forms.
But see, that sounds lovely.
That does sound lovely.
And they don't sound lovely.
No, they sound like they came up from like the depths. And that's how they're getting you.
The depths.
And like all legends across all cultures, they tend to serve a purpose. So the purpose of the Nimerigar legends was to encourage Shoshone tribal members to care for the vulnerable people who were part of their tribes, young and old alike, and to show why harming and ignoring the welfare of infants, the elderly, and the seriously ill was an inhumane action. By doing so, you are no better than the Nimerigar.
Oh, I like that lesson.
I like that. So the tale of these creatures remains as just that, a tale, until 1932. A discovery was made in Wyoming's San Pedro Mountains of an alleged 14-inch, 36-centimeter tall Nimerigar mummy. Two men had been digging...
14 inches?
Mm-hmm. They go between...
That's like not even 2 feet tall.
I know. They go anywhere between like 14 inch, like 12, 14 inches, up to 3 feet. That's like why we said Barbie, American Girl, life-size Barbie.
Oh my God. It's like a yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're back to small soldiers.
Yeah. Okay, good, good. So 2 men had been digging for gold but stumbled upon the mummy instead. They had been in the mountains digging and
And they know
digging.
it's not an infant?
Let me continue with my story.
Sorry.
They had been digging and digging to find gold, but only finding more and more rock. Annoyed, Cecil Main and Frank Carr used some dynamite to blast a section of the mountainside to get to the gold. When the dust cleared, they could see a cave in the rock face. The small cave was about 15 feet long and 4 feet high. It was sealed off from the it was sealed off from the world. It was sealed off from the world by a thick wall of rock, so naturally the 2 men entered the cave. This is when they found the mummy, a small pygmy like man sitting cross legged upon a ledge. It was about 6 inches tall in its seated position and about 14 inches tall in a standing position. It also weighed
What does
approximately
pygmy mean?
like small.
Oh.
There's there's an animal, I can't remember what it's called, like a pygmy something. They're
Oh,
like the
okay.
small things.
Okay.
So it weighed approximately 1 pound or 450 grams. Its skin was brown and wrinkled, its forehead low and flat. It had a flat nose, heavy lidded eyes, and a very wide mouth with thin lips. It was very well preserved. Fingernails could still be seen on its hands, and the top of its head was covered in a dark jelly like substance that was still pliable. The men brought their discovery to Casper, Wyoming, which of course drew the attention of scientists. Yes, scientists from all over the nation.
Some of
Many
them might have been doctors.
Many believed it surely had to be a hoax, so extensive tests were conducted on it by these scientists. The first was performed by the American Museum of Natural History and certified genuine by the Anthropology Department at Harvard University. It was found that the mummy was a 65-year-old man
What?
who had died violently, already fitting into the violent legend of the Nimerigars. The body showed evidence of a damaged spine, broken collarbone, and bashed skull, exposing brain tissue and congealed blood. The mummy also possessed a full set of overly pointed canine teeth. But later tests conducted by the University of Wisconsin contradicted this. I don't think that should be Wisconsin. I think that's the University of Wyoming. Anywho,
Mhm.
these later tests said that the mummy was an anencephalic infant whose cranial deformities gave it the appearance of a miniature adult.
So it
Anen-
was a baby.
Anencephaly is a birth defect where a significant portion of the brain and skull are missing.
Mm.
So, of course, the mummy was displayed inside. You can feel a cough coming on, you try to push through and you can't. Of course, the mummy was displayed in sideshows for years, but where it bounced around to after gets a little fuzzy. So, apparently, Maine, one of the men who was on the expedition, sold the mummy in April of 1934 to a man named Homer F. Sherrill of Crawford, Nebraska. Sherrill then loaned it to the Field Museum in Chicago, Illinois. But as of 2023, the current museum archivist, Armand Isai, said that there were no records of the mummy being displayed during that time, but did admit that it could have been an undocumented holding. But a man named Paul Martin did examine the mummy in 1950 on the museum's behalf. So as of 1950, we can kind of see that it was at the museum,
Okay, so for sure it was at the museum.
we believe.
Okay. So not for sure.
Not for sure because there was no documentation of it there, but some man said that he did examine the mummy on the museum's behalf in 1950.
Okay. So as in he didn't like, hey, I'll analyze it for you. He was saying he had already done that in the past.
I think in 1950 he analyzed it for the museum.
Right. And so there he's using that as like, I can attest to the fact that the museum has it because I tested it
Yeah.
in 1950.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was speculated that Cheryl never put Pedro in the Field Museum and that he never put it at the museum.
Yeah.
So the person could have identified it for the museum, but not at
But it
the
was
museum.
never okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that rather he likely owned it for at least 7 years to make a buck or two exhibiting it as a freakish attraction. At some point, it was purchased by a business named... why am I having such a hard time reading? Red leather, yellow leather. At some point, it was purchased by a businessman from Casper named Ivan T. Goodman. Goodman died in 1950s, like in the 1950s, and the mummy was passed to Leonard Walder, a New York businessman who died in the 1980s. It disappeared from New York in the 1980s without a trace.
No,
Allegedly, the Pedro Mountains mummy brought bad luck to anyone who possessed it.
of course it did.
Carr had died shortly after the discovery as well. He was the other man, which is why Maine was the one who ended up selling it. Believers in the Nimerigar legends insist that these findings are all part of a broader conspiracy to discredit the existence of ancient little people in North America. As some Native Americans still warn their people to be aware of the tiny people eaters who are still said to live in the mountains and high places in Wyoming.
Now, where should the comma go in that? Tiny, comma, people eaters? Or tiny, tiny people eaters?
I think tiny, comma, people eaters,
Okay.
because they are tiny and they eat people.
Got it.
I don't think they specifically eat tiny people.
There you go.
In 2005, John Adolphi of Granby, New York, offered a $10,000 reward for the mummy, claiming it could disprove the theory of evolution. Not sure how it would do that, but he said it could. His reward,
Or it proves it, showing that you could have multiple branches of one species and not all of them survive.
right.
So I think that goes actually quite against his point.
Yeah, I don't have any other information about him. I was looking to see if he was like a scientist or like a evolutionist. No, he's just a man from New York. His reward as of 2023 has remained unclaimed. Modern anthropologist George Gill, who works for the University of Wyoming, became involved in the whole Pedro case in 1971. But in the 1990s, he made a TV appearance about it on Unsolved Mysteries.
Huh.
After the appearance, Gill was approached by a Native American family from Cheyenne who presented him with the preserved remains of a baby remarkably similar to Pedro. The family had purchased the mummy in the same region of Wyoming where Pedro had been found around 1929 from a sheep herder. Of course, tests were also conducted on this mummy. These tests were performed by George Gill and the Denver Children's Hospital in the 1990s. The little baby was nicknamed Chiquita. She measured only a few inches in height with her arms and legs in the same position as Pedro. Her date of birth was determined to be sometime in the 1500s, and despite
15? 1 5.
1500.
Holy shit.
And despite her blonde hair, her DNA also revealed her to be of Native American origin. It was also determined that she had also died from anencephaly. Gill said, quote, "Nowhere else in Wyoming do we have burials sitting up like this, never sitting with legs crossed and arms folded across their chest. There's a clear connection between the two of them besides being in the same region," which is interesting. But not long after giving Chiquita to Gill, the family took her back and didn't allow any more tests to be conducted or anything else to be done to her.
Okay.
So we have two mummified, count 'em, two Nimerigars. Both mummified, both sitting cross-legged, arms crossed, which is very weird,
Okay.
dating back to the 1500s, which is wild.
Okay.
In 1778, so we're going back a little bit again, missionary David Zeisberger wrote about the possible existence of Nimerigar or other little people in North America. This would have been well before Pedro had been found. Near Coshocton, Ohio, Zeisberger wrote of a burial ground that he discovered that had numerous remains of a pygmy race, approximately 3 feet or 91 centimeters in height. Interestingly, he wrote, quote, "The long rows of graves of the pygmy race at Coshocton were regularly arranged with heads to the west, a circumstance which has given rise to the theory that these people were sun worshippers, facing the daily approach of the sun god over the eastern hills. Acceptance of the sun worship surmise doesn't..."
He surmised?
No, it just says surmise.
Probably need to throw a pronoun in there.
Does not necessarily imply a deduction that the pygmy race may have descended from the river people of Hindustan or Egypt. Primeval men, wherever found, seems to have been a sun worshipper. So they're saying how they were buried, they believe, from what they know of this race, that they were sun worshippers.
Okay.
But these burial grounds no longer exist due to people coming to the area, but it has allowed us to understand that these people understood the use of the stone axe, the making of pottery, and the division of land into squares. In 1876, another graveyard was documented as having been discovered in Coffee County, Tennessee.
What year was it?
This one is 1876.
So like 100 years later?
Yeah, just about. A farmer had been plowing his field when he uncovered small graves. The cemetery took up over 6 acres
Wow.
and supposedly held the remains of thousands of dwarf-like people.
Oh,
Again,
wow.
quoted kind of from the thing I read.
Yeah.
The bodies were either sitting or standing when they were found. At first, due to the size of the graves, many people thought that they were the graves of children. But upon further investigation, it was discovered that the skulls had wisdom teeth.
Oh.
Usually, wisdom teeth appear between the ages of 17 and 25, meaning that the bodies were adults and not children. So this is showing kind of a whole nother... Like, we thought that the one mummy was a 65-year-old man. It turned out to be a child.
Right.
Drastically different. But this is showing that that same race, we have people aged between 15 and 25.
Okay.
The story of the Nimerigar, filled with mystery and legend, reminds us of the rich cultures and histories of the American West. Even though we may never know the full truth about it, their story still sparks our imagination and curiosity.
There you go.
So not too much on it, because then it starts all becoming the same thing.
Right.
But with finding the San Pedro mummy and having this other girl have this mummy and all of these discoveries, it makes us think that there was this race of these like Nimerigar evil creatures.
Or maybe it was just another race and they didn't know what it was.
Very well.
Yeah.
Like that very well could be it too. So yeah. So these are something that some believe they're still roaming around Wyoming.
Sure.
But yeah,
Wow.
creepy little tiny people eaters.
One-eyed, one-horse, giant purple people eater.
What do you say for it?
He was a one-eyed, one-horse, flying purple.
One horse?
Yeah.
Oh,
What do you say?
one horn.
Maybe it's that. One-eyed,
One
one-horn,
horn, flying,
purple
people eater.
Yeah.
Does that mean, again, was he purple or did he eat purple people?
I think it's purple, comma, people eater.
So he's purple
He's purple.
and he eats people.
Mhm.
See, commas are so important in life.
They so are.
That's like my favorite thing where it's like the one where it's like,
Let's eat,
let's eat,
Grandma.
comma. Yeah.
Use that with the kids to help them understanding commas.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Nimerigar. I think they're kind of interesting. And I like the fact that there was a mummy found because that just kind of lends credence to it.
Yeah, there's something going on.
There's something going on
Yeah.
in Wyoming.
In Wyoming.
And there's a lot of stuff about him on TikTok, but I don't have a TikTok, so I couldn't look more into the little legends of them.
That sucks for you.
I know.
You know, you don't have to even have an account. You can just have one to just scroll.
You have to make an account to
No, you
have a
don't.
TikTok.
No, you don't.
I don't believe you.
Okay, well,
But then, because how do you make one if you don't have an account?
because
You're making an account.
right, but you don't have to like make the account. You can just scroll.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
How am
You just have the platform. And you can just scroll.
Oh.
At least that's what someone said on TikTok. Figure.
I mean, if I were going to get it, I'd go all out and I'd just make my own account. But I won't. I will resist the urge. I hope the Nimerigar get you. All right, Mackenzie, what tale do you have for us?
All right. The Great Basin, an unforgiving stretch of land carved by time and solitude. Covering parts of 5 states, it is a place where the roads are long, the silence is deep, and the line between civilization and wilderness is paper thin. For over a decade, this region was the backdrop for a terrifying pattern. Young women disappearing only to be found days, months, or even years later, their remains left in remote, desolate places. These were the Great Basin Murders. And nestled within the pattern is Wyoming, a state known for its open skies and rugged mountains, but also one that quietly harbored horror. So I will be doing something a bit different this episode.
Something we've never done before.
Yes, because this story spans across multiple states in the United States. Today will be part 1 of like part 3, probably 3,
Woo!
series that kind of covers these murders. So for each state that we do, we'll focus on the things that took place in that state and how they all kind of connect to each other.
And I'll still be doing another story from that state.
Yes.
But yeah, we wanted to see kind of how this was going to work. And I'm very excited.
So a couple of disclaimers. This story contains sensitive topics such as sexual assault and rape, so please consider before listening. And also the decision to make this into 3 parts was a bit last minute. So the more I look into this, the more I might find that I did not put into my prior research. So I did my best to include as many details as I could for this episode, but if I find more or new information, then obviously I'll include it in the next one.
Right.
So just a heads up. So if this is familiar to you and you're like, wait, there's this stuff.
They're
and this
missing
stuff.
these and these.
Right. 1, feel free to send them my way. Less work for me to do. And 2, I wasn't sure how deep I was going to go until I talked with Lauren. And by then it was like 11 o'clock, which was like an hour and a half before I was supposed to leave. So if I didn't need gas and if Mother Nature didn't sneeze on us,
yeah,
I would have been here on time.
I doubt that kind of, but go on.
It would have been. Okay. Janelle Lee Johnson was born on February 16th, 1960 in Montana. She was part of a large family with multiple siblings and step-siblings. In her early 20s, Janelle moved to Denver, Colorado to attend modeling school. After some time, she returned to Montana before settling in Riverton, Wyoming in January 1983. On February 16th, 1983, her 23rd birthday, Janelle left Riverton around 5 or 6 p.m., heading to Denver for a job interview at Vinoy Talent Agency. She arrived safely and completed her interview, leaving Denver around 5:30 p.m. on February 17th to return home. Her last known sighting was at a truck stop in Sinclair, Wyoming around 9 p.m. that evening. When she didn't return home, her friends and family grew concerned, and a missing persons report was filed on February 22nd.
And people wonder why we don't want to go to truck stops at 9 p.m.
Yeah. Tragically, on March 1st, 1983, Janelle's body was discovered in a shallow grave near Muskrat Creek Road in Shoshone, Wyoming.
Oh,
There you go. The grave had been particularly eroded by storm drains, revealing her remains. An autopsy revealed that she had been sexually assaulted and strangled. Investigators found bite marks on her shoulder and collected seminal fluid, hoping these would lead to her killer. Unfortunately, over time, the storage refrigerator containing this evidence malfunctioned and the samples became unusable. Yeah.
just malfunctioned, or was there any like sign of foul play with the malfunction?
Nothing ever said that, so I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
so. Janelle's murder is believed to be the first in a series known as the Great Basin Murders. Between 1983 and 1997, at least 9 women were found murdered across Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and Idaho. Many of these victims were young women who had been sexually assaulted and left near highways in the Great Basin region. Initially, authorities suspected a single serial killer, but later investigation suggested possible multiple perpetrators might be responsible. There's also nothing that is officially connects all of them together. They just have very similar MOs found in
Oh,
similar regions and similar places. And so there is skepticism that they might be. Some of the
interesting.
cases have technically been solved, like someone's been convicted for it,
Yeah,
but there's also the possibility more could be because not all of them are solved. So, like, are some of the people that already got convicted linked to the ones that
right.
aren't solved? Some people still haven't even been identified.
That sounds kind of like the Colonial Parkway murders, where
Yeah.
it was the same region, same area, same ish MO.
Yeah.
So they just kind of linked them all together.
Yeah. So there's definitely like some of them that, like, especially when we get into Utah and the connections that Utah officials like made there, they're like
Mm,
not just similar MOs, like it is quite literally the same thing. And it's like confirmed by like, I think FBI that like, 3 out of the whatever are definitely, or not definitely, most likely perpetrated by the same person.
wow, okay.
But you'll have to wait till Utah for that. Despite advancements in forensic science, Janelle's case remains unsolved. The loss of crucial evidence has been a significant setback. Her family and friends continue to seek justice and remember her as a vibrant young woman whose life was tragically cut short. The Great Basin killings weren't confined to one location, but their patterns were unnervingly consistent. Most victims were young women, many hitchhiking or traveling alone. Many were sexually assaulted, then killed, often via strangulation or blunt force trauma. Bodies were dumped in isolated areas near interstates, places where a killer could come and go without notice. While some law enforcement agencies believe multiple perpetrators may have been at work, others pushed the theory of a long haul trucker or a transient predator with a wide territory.
That was my first thought when you said a truck stop.
In Wyoming, the isolated highways and low population density created the perfect storm for someone with evil intent. So, while not always grouped with the core Great Basin cases due to timing, Lisa Kimmel's murders bear haunting similarities. And she was actually what led me to this because at first I was looking into hers to see if that's what I wanted to cover. And while I was looking into it, it had mentioned, like, oh, some people believe she's part of this. And I was like, what's this?
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
then that's how I stumbled across all the
Right.
rest of them. Lisa Marie Kimmel was full of life, smart, kind, and ambitious. She was originally from Billings, Montana, but at the time of her disappearance in March of 1988, she was living and working in Denver, Colorado. She managed an Arby's restaurant and she was doing really well for herself. That month, Lisa planned to take a trip back home with a stop in Cody, Wyoming to pick up her boyfriend, Ed. On March 25th, Lisa hit the road in her little black Honda CRX. It wasn't just any car, it was a personalized Montana license plate that read Little Miss, or
Aw.
Lil Miss, LIL,
Mhm.
a nickname her family had given her. The detail would become burned into the memory of anyone who followed the case. They call it the Little Miss murder. Yeah.
Oh.
As she made her way north through Wyoming, she was pulled over by a highway patrol officer in Douglas around 9:06 p.m. for speeding. He would later describe her as polite and put together, no signs of distress. She tried to pay her fine at an ATM after the stop, but when the ATM machine didn't work, the officer told her that she could just mail it in.
Oh, so he was with her. They
Yeah.
went to an ATM for her to try to pay it immediately?
I guess so.
That's interesting. I don't think that's even a thing right now.
I don't know. He let her go, and that was it. Lisa was never seen alive again. When Lisa didn't show up in Cody or at home in Billings, her family immediately knew something was wrong. This wasn't like her. She always checked in. Her disappearance sparked a large search effort, but days turned into weeks and hope began to fade. Then, on April 2nd, 8 days after she was last seen, a fisherman made a grim discovery near the North Platte River just outside Casper, Wyoming.
I think I covered the North Platte River, Plate River, when I did like my ghost ship.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's definitely come up before in previous Wyoming episodes, for
Yeah.
sure. It was Lisa's body. She had been sexually assaulted, tied up, and stabbed repeatedly. The autopsy showed she'd been kept alive for almost a week before she was killed and dumped into the river. Investigators were horrified. They knew this was no random crime. Someone had taken their time. I did not intend for those to rhyme. Oh my God.
Stop. Stop making this happen.
But despite the shocking nature of the murder and the national attention it got, the case went cold. For over a decade, there were no arrests, no solid suspects, just Lisa's grieving family left without answers. Then, in 2002, something finally broke the case wide open. Thanks to advancements in DNA technology, evidence taken from Lisa's body was retested, and it came back with a hit, a man named Dale Wayne Eaton. At the time, Eaton was already in jail on unrelated charges, but when investigators started digging into his background, what they found was chilling. Authorities searched Eaton's property and made a horrifying discovery. Buried there after all those years was Lisa's car on his property. The black Honda.
And burying a car too.
I know, that's crazy.
Like, that's a lot. That's not just like a 6-foot grave. Like
That's deep.
that's a thing.
Yeah. The black Honda CRX, the one with the unmistakable Lil Miss license plate. The moment confirmed what Lisa's family had feared. She had been abducted, held captive, and murdered by this man. In 2004, Dale Eaton was convicted of kidnapping, sexual assault, and first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death, becoming the only person on Wyoming's death row.
Oh, wow.
But the case didn't end there.
See, you would think it would. I feel like that's pretty cut and dry. Like, it's done, we're done.
Years later, his sentence was overturned because of claims that he hadn't received an adequate defense during his trial.
Oh my God.
In 2022, after a drawn-out legal process, Eaton was resentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Okay, good.
Some speculate that he could be linked to other victims in the region. Could he have been part of the broader string? Some people on Reddit think that Eaton could possibly be responsible for the murder of Janelle Johnson.
Okay.
But remember, we lost her evidence because of the fridge.
Yep.
For Lisa's family, it was a bittersweet kind of justice. They'd spent 14 years fighting for answers, writing to newspapers, pushing investigators, refusing to let her name fade into a cold case file. Lisa's mother, Sheila, later wrote a book about her daughter's life and the painful journey taken to uncover the truth. She called it The Murder of Little Miss. Now, we're heading out to the open and lonely roads of Sweetwater County, Wyoming. It's a place where the sky stretches on forever and the desert wind seems to carry whispers of things long forgotten. But in March of 1992, something was found just off of Interstate 80 that couldn't be ignored. A young woman's body left alone in the cold Wyoming wilderness.
Oh my God.
No ID, no name. Just a mystery and a nickname, Bitter Creek Betty. Let's rewind a bit. It's March 1st, 1992. I keep wanting to say 1922. I don't know why.
Because we're back in the 20s.
Maybe that's it, yeah.
Yeah, probs.
A truck driver is making his way down I-80 near Bitter Creek, about 40 miles east of Rock Springs. He pulls off the road for a break, and while walking around, he spots something in the snow. Something that doesn't belong. It's the body of a woman, half naked, left in a drainage ditch just off the highway. She's been dumped there like trash, discarded. But this woman was someone's daughter, maybe someone's sister, a friend, maybe even a mother. The way she was found made it clear. This was someone trying to erase her. She had no ID, nothing that would point to who she was. No witnesses, no answers. All they had were a few clues. Forensic investigators estimated that she was somewhere between 24 and 32 years old, Caucasian, brown or auburn hair, maybe around 5'8". The victim had a rose tattoo on her right breast and a cesarean section scar on her abdomen. A gold ring was on one finger of her right hand, and a gold necklace was found around her neck. The victim had been brutally beaten, raped, and strangled before she died, but the cause of death was a blow to the head with an ice pick, which caused cranial trauma and severe blood loss.
Oh.
According to investigators, the victim fiercely resisted her attacker and likely wounded him, as traces of blood not matching her blood group were found at the crime scene.
Oh, interesting.
Without a name, local law enforcement and the FBI gave her the nickname Bitter Creek Betty, based on the area where she was found. Photos of her face, tattoos, and other distinctive features were published by police and the local media in an attempt to identify her. Soon afterwards, they were contacted by a man who stated that he had seen a woman with a similar tattoo in Tucson, Arizona, but this led nowhere. Bitter Creek Betty remains unidentified. Days turned into weeks, then months, then years. So here's what we do know. Her murder has never been officially solved, but authorities still believe she may have been one of the victims targeted by the same man or a group of people roaming the interstates during the late 80s and early 90s. The theory is that the killer or killers were likely truckers or transients, someone who could move quickly without raising suspicion, someone who had used the roads like hunting grounds. And around the same time, which is why Betty was is classified with the Great Basin murders was because several other women were being discovered dead in nearby states, such as Utah and Nevada.
Oh my God.
All of them had similar features. Most were white women in their 20s or 30s. Many were found near highways, often in remote or desert locations. Some had been sexually assaulted, some were dumped, stripped of their identity, just like Betty. The cases began stacking up.
And it truly does sound like it could be a trucker. I
Uh-huh.
mean, who else is going to be going to all of these locations, also kind of at night and at
Yeah.
truck stops and have the ability to like have the time to dump someone and the space to do it? You know what I mean?
There's a newspaper article that has like a map from, and this was like in like the late 1990s, like when like they were really starting to kind of think maybe they all have to do with each other. And it definitely like where it's located in the states, like not that it's all along the same route, it branches out in some cases, but it's generally in one direction. So it's not
Hmm.
like it's like over here, over here, over there, over there. It
Right.
kind of flows along one path. If that makes
Interesting.
sense. Investigators started looking at the possibility of a serial killer, a predator working the interstate system, someone who knew how to disappear. So they started calling it the Great Basin Murders because the name comes from the region itself, the Great Basin, which is also a national park.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
A vast arid expanse of the American West where these victims were turning up. There were at least 9 women linked to the series, maybe more. Some had
Jeez.
names, others didn't. In 2014, using DNA forensics, investigators extracted DNA from traces of seminal fluid left by the man who had killed Bitter Creek Betty. The genotypic profile of the killer matched biological traces of another woman who was not listed as a victim of the Great Basin killers.
Oh.
The body of a young woman was discovered on April 13th, 1992 in Sheridan County, Wyoming, about 400 miles from where Bitter Creek Betty was found. Her exact cause of death could not be determined, but it was homicidal in nature. She had been raped and suffered blunt force trauma to the head, and it was likely killed in February of 1992. She was determined to be about 10 weeks pregnant at the time of her death.
Oh.
Sheridan County Jane Doe was white, between the ages of 16 and 23, about 5'7" and 121 pounds. So she had, like, based on, like, the color of her hair, like, I don't know if there was, like, highlights or something, some investigators believe that she might be from the southern United States. So what
Interesting.
made me think is if that is connected with Betty, since we don't know her name, Betty had not that Betty was pregnant at the time, but she obviously had had a kid if she had a C-section scar.
Right.
This woman was pregnant during her death. When I hear, like, it said sunburned brown hair, and I was like, oh, is she also from Arizona, like Betty? Or like that guy in Arizona said he may have seen Betty there. And so, like, could they be connected that way? I
Mm.
don't know. Just something I thought about.
Interesting.
In 2020, the results of another DNA examination matched the genotypic profile of 59-year-old truck driver Clark Perry Baldwin, who was arrested on May 6th at his home in Waterloo, Iowa.
Waterloo.
Genotype profiling, according to Google, refers to an individual's or group's unique set of genetic information, including the specific DNA sequence variations and gene expression patterns, which can be used to identify genetic traits, predispositions, and potential diseases. So it's kind of like a snapshot of your DNA genetic makeup.
Okay.
So it's like very specific.
Yeah.
In addition to the murders of the unidentified women, he was also charged in the murder of 32-year-old Pamela McCall and her unborn child. Starting to see a pattern.
Right.
Her body was found on March 10th, 1991 on the side of I-65 in Spring Hill, Tennessee, about 30 miles south of Nashville.
And so far, everything's happening at like the beginning of the year, too.
Oh, good point.
Mhm.
I didn't think about
We've
that.
had a lot of Marches and Februarys.
Yeah. She was sexually assaulted and died by strangulation, with the coroner establishing in late February 1991. Seminal fluid found on the victim's pantyhose was matched to Baldwin. As of 2021 or 22, I think, he's still awaiting trial for the murders. Some sources say they have determined the identity of the unidentified women, but no one has been able to confirm anything officially. So,
So what's going on with our other dude who's in jail for the other one?
oh, he was convicted of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's still though in jail because
Yeah.
wasn't he on death row?
But that got overturned now. Then he got
Oh,
resentenced.
then it was just a guilty thing. So he wasn't put back on death row.
No, but he was found guilty, life without parole.
Okay. Life without parole. Gotcha.
Yeah. Some sources say they have determined the identity of the unidentified women, but no one has been able to confirm anything officially. Supposedly, their profiles are removed from NamUs, but still included on local websites. So, like the big database,
Yeah.
apparently they're not on there anymore.
National and missing, identified.
Unidentified specimens? No, that's not it.
I don't think it would be specimen as the word. No.
I don't know. Someone on Reddit also commented saying that the family of Betty did not want her identified shared with the public. Someone also commented saying that they aren't releasing the names while the trial is ongoing, but these are also from Reddit.
Mhm.
So
Right.
it's hard to determine their legitimacy, but I wasn't able to find in like any of the news reports what their names were. They just said Bitter Creek Betty, what was the county's name? Sheridan County Jane Doe, and then Pamela is like how they would list it out in terms
Right.
of what he is responsible for or supposedly responsible for. So on the surface, they were isolated incidences, but slowly something started to shift. By late 1980s and into the early 90s, investigators began noticing the echoes between the cases. Young women, remote highways, sexual assault, strangulation.
Right.
Bodies left in places where the wind could erase almost everything. Agencies from Utah, Nevada, Idaho, and Wyoming started talking, meeting across jurisdictions trying to figure out if they were dealing with something bigger. The term Great Basin Murders was never official, but it became the shorthand, a way to describe a string of killings that felt connected by more than just geography.
Okay.
The problem, back then there was no central system, no national DNA database. Leads fizzled, evidence sat untested. And with each new body, the question grew louder. Was this the work of one killer or many?
Which is so weird that they wouldn't have these systems already that
Yeah.
everyone used.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just so weird. Like, there are other states. Other states are dealing with the same things.
I
Like, not
think
necessarily in this case the same person.
I think I don't know, whatever the database is where it's like you put in the description of the case and then it like tells you if there's other ones
Mm,
that are similar in different areas. I forget what that system is.
I can't remember.
But I think they had that, but they didn't have any DNA database yet.
Right. It's just wild that they didn't. Like, I know DNA wasn't a huge thing, but still.
Yeah. Well, that's
You
because it
think,
wasn't a huge thing.
I know. You would think they would start putting it all together.
Well, they do say that like there's a lot of unsolved or like cold cases, especially in the 80s. I'm sure when it started getting talked about, people were a lot better about preserving things of like, oh, I think somewhere in the future something could come of this.
Right.
But there was no official one because there wasn't a thing. It would take decades and the rise of modern forensics for the question to even begin to find answers. So as of April 2025, there have been no significant updates or breakthroughs specifically related to the Great Basin murders. Like I said, these cases involve the murders of supposedly 9 women from 1983 to 1997 across Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and Idaho. Most of them are unsolved. So while advancements in while advancements in forensic technology, particularly genetic genealogy, have aided in resolving other cold cases in the region, they have not yet yielded new information pertinent to the Great Basin cases. Efforts to apply modern forensic techniques to these cases are ongoing, and authorities remain hopeful that future advancements may eventually lead to resolutions. So across the Great Basin region, law enforcement is slowly revisiting old evidence, hoping to finally put names to the nameless and justice to the long dead. But for Wyoming's victims, those identified and those not, justice still waits. So next week, we will continue looking into the Great Basin murders with Nevada.
That's so wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so wild that it goes through so many states and we just don't know. And that we've also have 2 people who have, like, one who has been convicted, and was the other guy convicted yet?
I
Or
don't
we're
think,
awaiting his
yeah,
thing?
he hasn't been convicted yet.
Yeah. But yeah, that like you have all of these happening,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have 3 in one state, 3 or so in one state, and you arrest one guy, you convict him. You have another guy, he's waiting for his conviction, but you're still like, no, but there's more.
Yeah, there's like quite a good amount of people that are considered a suspect. Some of them we've heard before, like a couple of serial killers we've heard before
Mm-hmm.
have been like suspected of possibly. And like it also, just because these aren't all actually confirmed to be related, sometimes too, depending on the source you read, some say even it goes back to the 70s. So like some people include like varying names and things like that. So
Well, I'm
yeah.
excited. I'm like excited for it to be like
Yeah,
multi-part.
I really just kind of stayed with Wyoming. So like I saw glimpses of things from the other states. So it'll be interesting to kind of dive into those and see that perspective.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how you're going to do it.
So
And kind of interesting that we have a case that we get to do over 3 different states.
Yeah, I thought that was fun, which is kind of why I wanted to do it that way. I thought it'd be
Yeah.
interesting because a lot of them are in Utah, and I'm like, well, we're not in Utah.
I'm not in Utah yet. And yeah, we're not going to do it when we had it planned for Utah because we had it planned like way down there.
Right, exactly. And people would forget, myself included.
Oh, 100%.
So
We're going to forget by next weekend.
exactly.
So that's why you're going to do a nice little recap.
Yes,
Or we're going to be like, what?
I was thinking about that too. I was like, okay, I need to summarize.
100%.
I'm terrible at summarizing.
Yes, you are.
So
All right, well, thank you everyone for listening. We couldn't get to it last time because Mackenzie had to pee really bad. So if you need to send us anything, send it to ascarystatepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any rates or reviews, send it to us as well, and we'll send you a sticker.
yeah, and you can follow us mostly on Instagram at A Scary State Podcast because that's really the platform that I have figured out how to use.
If you send anything on TikTok, I won't get it.
Yeah, well, we have
So-
a TikTok, but like I've been taking a hiatus because I'm like, TikTok is hard. People are so creative, and I don't know what to do.
Don't look at me.
I know. I mean, I know I'm currently looking at you right now, but
We
just-
should do some of those challenges, though. Some of them look really funny,
yeah, that would be funny.
and that would be really fun.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I guess that's all we have. So stay scary.
Stay safe.